Okay, this is our first show of 2019, and we welcome you Facebook Live and my wonderful audience. Woo! Yeah. And tonight we're going to talk about a subject that I think is going to be an awesome subject. But before we get started, I have to introduce my co-host that's here with us tonight. To my left is Danielle. Hi, Danielle. This is Danielle's first time being on the show. My husband, the pastor and apostle, Glenn, and my other co-host, Linda. I call her Lindy. And Cynthia is on her way.
Amen.
Okay, I'm trying to make sure I pull up the show, so if anybody is watching, they'll be able to put down your information at the bottom of the screen. So once I can pull this up, I'll be ready to go. Okay, let's see here. Just give me a minute. You know I'm at that age. Okay. All right. If you have a comment, please put it at the bottom of the screen so we can be able to see your comment and voice your opinion on the talk show tonight. Again, I want to welcome you to the Talk of Life talk show with Elma. And it was such a blessing on 2018. And we thank God for allowing us to be here again in 2019. Amen. And again tonight, this is a Christian talk show. And this Christian talk show, we deal with all types of topics. Because Christians go through things that other people think that we don't go through. And then we put on a facade like everything is okay. So tonight we want your voice to be heard on the talk show. Ask any kind of questions and give me some good answers. So the question that we're going to start off with tonight is, why don't people go to church? And why do people go to church? Now, the first one we want to talk about is why people don't go to church. And since this is 2019 and it's the start of a new year, I was thinking that this would be a good subject. And my sister-in-law, Gwendolyn Benjamin, was the one that brought this topic to us. And we want to give her a hand clap of praise. And she came to me, she said, "Sister-in-law, I have a good topic." I said, "What is it?" And she said, "Have you ever thought about why people don't go to church?" I said, "Girl, that is a good topic." So we're going to open up 2019 with why people don't go to church, so you can get your feedback in with the Talk of Life talk show tonight. And again, please voice your opinion. So we're going to start back. You know, I always like to do research, okay? So now, I did a research on this here through Google. And it gave me the top 10, and then I'm going to add a little bit more to it. It says, the top 10 reasons given by Americans who attended religious services at least once a month, according to the Pews. The survey respondents were allowed to give more than one reason. The percentage refers to people who said this was a very important reason for their decision. Okay? So the first one is, why people don't go to church. Okay, now this is the first one I got. They practice their faith in other ways. That was 37%. They are not believers, 28%. No reason is very important, 26%. They haven't found a house of worship they like, 23%. They don't like the sermons, 18%. They don't feel welcome, 14%. They don't have the time, 12%. Poor health or mobility, 9%. And no house of worship in their area was 7%. And that was just the top 9 on that survey. And then I did a survey on my own, just talking to other people. And they said that, okay, let me see. They gave me, these were just individuals that I talked to, why they think that people don't go to church. Someone in the church hurt them. That was the number one. You are enjoying things that the Bible says are sinful. That was number two. It is not like it used to be back in the day. Made to go when I was little, said I would never want to go to church when I grow up. Friends don't go to church, hanging with the wrong crowd. Pastors taking all the money. Pastors making all kinds of mistakes in the pulpit and teaching us not to do, and they are not trustworthy. They don't believe in the same God, controlling white man Jesus. People are so fake and judgmental, and tradition and ritual. Now, those were some of the ones that I got and the other 9. So we're going to deal with why people don't go to church first with the panel that is up here. Let's start off. Why do you all think that people don't go to church? Whoever want to go first.
Well, that's interesting because today one of my friends thought about going to church. He said, no. I said, well, why don't you go to church? I said, because we're supposed to be talking about this tonight. I said, so why do you not go to church? And she said, because I feel that people that, like the pastor, she said, you can go and talk to them. And she said, your business would be in the church the next second, because they are going to tell what we talked about and what we discussed. So she felt like she couldn't trust the ministerial people. She said that she just could not trust them. So that was one of the reasons. And she said that they talk a lot of game. That was another one. They talk a lot of game, and they're not sincere.
Okay.
They don't show love. They pretend love, but they don't really show love. And she just, she had a list, and I'm looking at her like, my God, I'm like, that would make me not want to go to church. If you could be involved with that type of behavior in the church that's supposed to say, the church said, come as you are. Okay. And when you come as you are, that statement said, come as you are, that means if you broken down inside, if you hurting, if you are in need of counseling, if you're in need of, just positive thinking. And so I guess basically what she is saying is that the church is negative, although they pretend like they are positive. So that's basically what she's saying.
You said the key thing about the church says come as you are, but a lot of people don't get that when
you get received that way.
You receive that way when you come into a church. Now I can honestly say that this church love any and everybody. And
what's the name of that church?
The church within ministry.
Okay. That would be our church.
Yeah. And I have witnessed that firsthand. So that's just not hearsay. I've seen it with my own eyes. This church loves any and everybody. But I have been to churches where I don't feel welcome, or I get looked at some kind of way, or it could be either way I have my hair or whatever I have on. But you don't get that at this church. And a lot of people here today have issues with that, to where they stop going to church altogether.
Right.
People being judgmental towards them.
Right. Right. That's true.
And when you say judgmental, what do you think? How they judging? How would they judge?
It could be either the color of their skin.
Okay.
It could be what they have on.
Okay.
It could be their sexuality.
Oh, yes.
It can be a number of things where people are looked down on, and it shouldn't even be about that. When you come into church, you coming to getting your soul fed.
Right.
You coming to get fed by the word, the worship and praise. All that other stuff should be left outside the church.
And also, if some people come to church just for the praise part.
Yeah. You not lying about
I mean,
that?
you know,
favorite person
they'll
to
say,
dance.
"Oh, they got a bad choir." They did not once mention what the sermon. You could go into a church and then they say, "Oh, church was good today.
Say it.
Church was good today." And they say, "Well, what did he speak on?" I don't know what
It
he
was just
spoke
good.
on,
It was
but
just
it was just
good.
good, and the choir just sung.
But you can ask them what did they sing. They can probably tell you what they were singing.
Right.
But does the praise help you deal with the problems a lot of time? You know, and everything. What do you think, Pastor? Why do they come to? Why they don't come to church?
Don't come. Oh, I think a lot of that has to do with your, I guess your background, what you're used to. You know, even, and so if you're in an environment of nobody's going anywhere, it just becomes just the norm. But if if you're in, say you were brought up around some people, everybody was in the church, you didn't have no choice but to go, even from a kid or whatever, A lot of times, even in the past, if the majority of the people that are in the community around wherever you live, if they all went to church, then more than likely you're going to go. Even if you didn't care about it, you still go because you'll go for the association.
I was just gonna say that for the fellowship.
Yeah, the fellowship, and
be
especially it
around
would
people,
start out in the country,
Yeah.
the country type atmosphere. Everybody know everybody in the country towns and what have you. But that same thing affects you in the city as well. Everybody, all your neighbors, everybody went, then you went as well. And so in that, if everybody around you didn't go, so who's gonna have a desire to go? That's
Because
really,
a lot of times they wouldn't know to go.
right. They wouldn't know.
You know,
they
because
won't
you
have a
haven't been
desire.
around the church or
Right.
whatever.
That's true.
But in today's society, you have a lot of churches that they go for different reasons. A lot of them, I've been told too, that they go because of the size of the church. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it's a big mega church, they go because, oh, this is my pastor. This is, mine because I'm part of a big mega church. And then you got the smaller churches that's trying to survive, and you got people coming in. Then here's all this chaos in the church. And most people want to come to church to feel loved. They want to feel welcome. You already going through hell outside, right? And then you come into the church and you can't even, you got to dress a certain way. Have y'all ever heard that? You got to dress a certain way when you come into the church. If you don't have the hat on or the three-piece suit, you might feel uncomfortable, Then you got a lot of people out there looking for churches, but they don't feel like they can come into an atmosphere.
They don't feel welcome.
They don't feel welcome.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say the accountability part of it too, because when you're part of a mega church, then no one really knows if you're there. They don't know if you're serving. They don't know you like that. But when you get to part of a smaller church and there's that level of accountability, you get more messy because you get to know the real people. You know what I'm saying? They know you and you know them. So I believe that there's more accountability and more authenticity
right.
when you find a smaller church. Because, there's going to be the person that we know we can count on for potluck. The person we know we can count on, for the weddings. There's that goodness about that smaller community because that accountability piece is there. And I think also time you will find that the initial reaction is good. The initial reaction for the person that's joining and the church family is good because we do, really feel like we all can grow together and we all can be a real family.
Right.
Where with the mega churches, it's kind of like that, when you first fall in love with something and you kind of have that honeymoon period.
Right.
And then after the honeymoon period is over, there's nothing really
Everything
there.
just fall down.
Everything just fall down.
Right.
And no one knew who you were, or if you still committed, if you ain't committed anymore.
I think the only way they know is by your W-2.
Your tie.
Your tie.
Yeah.
That's
Don't miss that tie.
A lot of time. Don't miss the
For
time.
the period of time that you was
But
there.
some people
Yeah.
like that, because it's a way to hide.
Oh, yeah, to hide in the big church.
When it came to me the other day, I was thinking about how, from the first sin, the first thing they did, they hid themselves. They covered themselves to hide. You know, when God came in and said, "Where are you?" He said, "We're hiding." Well, why are you hiding? Because we're naked. How do you know you're naked? How do you know that? So the covering is either going to be for one thing or the other. It's going to be to hide, or it's going to be for protection. We cover for protection as well.
That's right.
Well, a lot of times, just because you're in a certain churches, you're not really there for protection. Like spiritual protection, you have the knowledge of the enemy, a spiritual enemy, Satan, and all of that, and so you're in there for protection. Others, they're there to hide. They're not really trying to do that. They already know their purpose, and sometimes it's like you hiding from God too. You know, you say, "Well, God, I'm doing this."
I'm
You
doing
say,
just enough.
Right,
I'm
I
doing
am.
just enough.
You say, "I didn't call you for that. What you doing?"
Right.
I am there. I'm there. But no, I called you for something else. But as long as I'm here, then I'm kind of, we kind of compromising with God, like in a sense. But it didn't work either way. God already know what you're doing, because He know our heart.
Yeah.
And so some people are actually doing it. People don't realize that you have a lot of people that are sitting in the churches knowing that every place is occupied in the big church.
That's true.
So they won't call on me.
They won't ask me to do
Right,
nothing.
because I already know
They ask me
somebody
to
in that
sing.
spot in it. But if you go in a small place,
We gonna work.
you have there's so many places you can
But
be
you should
used.
be.
But you
I don't
should be
really want to
working.
do that. I don't want to
Yeah,
do that.
I don't want to do something.
You put on the spot then, see, and everybody's looking at you. Well, you can hide in the big one. Nobody knows
That's
you.
when you really don't want to serve.
Right,
in the
you ready?
church.
Right, that's
And
when
then,
they
and then
they
you
really
got
don't want
those
to
that
do
want
it.
to be seen too in the
Yeah.
church. They go to the church, so hey, I want to be seen,
Right.
but they don't want to serve.
Right,
They
they
just
really
want
don't
to
wanna
be
do it.
seen, and they want to do certain things
Right.
in certain positions. And if they don't get that position,
They gone.
they quit going
Right,
to church.
right.
Or if they don't get their
rather-
way in the church, they don't go to church.
Stay home, right,
They'll
stay
leave, and if the pastor correct them
Yeah.
and don't let them have their way,
Yeah.
they leave and go to another church, and then they get over there and they sit down because it ain't nothing for them to do. But you had a place where you could go and work, and then just because the pastor may not agree with you, you leave. But the Bible tells us we can correct, when you are. And if a pastor allow you to do everything in that church, then, I mean, everybody can just come in here and do whatever they want to do. So you got to have some kind of rules and regulation, but if somehow we can get corrected on our jobs.
Sure can.
Think about that. They can
keep
come
going
in
in.
there, correct us on our job. We'll sit there and take it. But soon as somebody correct you in the church, you get upset and you leave.
Right.
You leave.
Who they think
And
they
then
are.
you don't even have enough to come and tell the pastor that you gone. You just leave, and then you talk about them and say they did this. And before you know it, somebody else will realize you did the same thing at the other church. You left that church, and then you did the same thing at this church, and you left. So there are a lot of reasons why people don't go to church.
Right.
Now, one of the comments was, go ahead.
You said how you said that when the pastor corrects them. Now you have some that corrects them in the wrong way.
Right. You're right.
I seen
That's true.
something on the news where actually it was a mega church, and this lady had been going to this church for about 10 or 15 years, and she got up and on stage and was singing. But that wasn't a part of the show, so they took her to the back to correct her. But what they did was they corrected her in the wrong way.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say which mega church
I
it
know.
was.
Okay. We understand.
It went so far as they were putting their hands on her.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So
Oh,
then you have all this on tape. But it's a certain way to do things in a certain
Right.
order.
Doing
Way.
decent and order.
Exactly. And to me, that was the wrong
way to
way.
do it.
You have someone that's been a part of your sheep for 15 years.
That's wrong. Yeah.
That's no way to handle it. So it's like you said, it's a certain way to do things in order and fashion.
Right.
Now, if I come to you and the pastor comes to you and says, "Hey, you don't need to," that's the right way to do it. But as the way they did it, that was
But you
way
know,
out of line.
I believe in what we do at our church. We have, what do we call it?
A round
A
table.
We
round
have
table.
a round table. Because I feel like if you talk about it and you bring it out, then you can hopefully get some kind of understanding, you know, what's going on. And that'll help you do that. But you're right, you have some pastors that a lot of people don't come to church. Because one of the comments on here said some of them don't go because they do not like the new pastor.
This what he told me that last
The
week.
new, that's a good one. Thank you for
The
sharing that.
DMV, she said that the new pastor just wasn't anything like her previous pastor. And she didn't go into detail what was different. But she said the older pastor was an older gentleman. This newer person had this new, you know, I'm all that, you know. And we know how people can kind of have the big head. And they just don't have the same servitude for their flock as the previous one. And so when you go from having that real close relationship with a pastor to somebody that you don't know much about, and they're now over the flock, she said she just couldn't. She couldn't adjust, so she couldn't on.
But how long did the adjustment take? Because you have to realize that, okay, new pastor, not the old pastor, new pastor, he's going to have to learn his flock.
Right.
And they're going to have to, he's going to have to adjust to them as well as they adjust to him. So you're not, you listen to what he was teaching and preaching instead of looking at the person outside. Of course, you're going to run into some arrogant ministers. You know, you run into arrogant bosses.
That's
but
true.
you still stay there
Because you want that money.
because you want their money. You know, so we have to, you know, when we start judging others, you know, we have to be very careful with that because, like she said, he was a new pastor. So did you get to know your new pastor?
And you know, when you bring in another person, you got to get used to that person.
Right, you have to.
And stuff. It's just like when new members come in, we have to get to know them and talk to them and you know, adjust with them and everything. But we have different reasons why we don't come to church.
Right.
We make up excuses not to come to church. We have excuses, especially on Sunday morning. But on Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday, we don't make up excuses not to go to work.
Right.
But God is the one that gives us the job and wake us up to go to those jobs. But we always have excuses. Now, one of the things that get to me is when a child tell me, I can't go to church, and I don't want to go to church. You know, these are children saying that they don't want to go to church, and then the parents say, oh, well, you can stay in the bed.
Not this
Right?
parent.
Not this parent.
Not here.
Oh, not here.
You know what I'm saying? So now the children telling them why they don't want to go to church. Well, I'm tired. Why you tired? You know, then you got the parents saying it too. Well, I'm tired. So here go the kids. They hearing the parents say it. So they don't go to church, you know. But we have a lot of reasons why we don't go to church. And then some say they haven't found a house of worship that they like. So what does it make? That's another thing too you look at. What in that house are you looking for? You know, you ask people that. What are you looking for? Well, I can't use my gift there. Okay, they come up with all kinds of excuses. I can't. I got to dress a certain way to go there. You know. Well, whatever happened to the script? Or not scripture, but whatever happened to the saying where they say, "Come as you are."
It says come as you are, true enough, but they don't mean for you to bring, you know, hoochie mama shorts.
But what if that's all they have is hoochie mama
If
shorts?
that's all they have, then what we would do, I'm going to tell you what I would do is I said, come on, baby, let's go down here to the dollar store. I'm going to hook them up.
Because some of them don't. They don't have
some of
no
them do not
clothes.
have
But
any
I like
clothes.
your suggestion saying, well, baby, let me take you. Or some of them have clothes banks at their church where they can take them in there and do it. Because some people do not have
Because you don't want to
clothes.
embarrass them.
Yeah, don't want to embarrass
You know,
them.
you don't
And that
want
might
them
be
to
a good
embarrass-
idea for here to
Yeah.
have a clothes bank. Because I know I have a ton of clothes that I can't fit anymore. And don't look like I'm going to get back down to that size anytime soon.
You're not going to squeeze in there.
I can't squeeze in them. So,
Yeah, but you know,
That's a good point.
they're always welcome. So, you know, you would take them to the side. You wouldn't embarrass anyone.
Right.
Because
Yeah,
you wouldn't want
standing
to
up
be
in church.
embarrassed.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Anyone. You just take them aside, baby, come here for a minute. I need to tell you something. And take them in the back and say, I see what you have on it. And it's the scripture does say, come as you are. But, baby, we have young people that watching. They not looking at the church, what the minister is saying. They looking at you. So what we gonna do is we gonna go down here, if it's okay with you, and buy you something, you know, presentable for you to come back to church. And I'll take you down there, you know.
That's right.
Although
And
I'm
not
not
talk about them.
And not
Yeah,
talk
and not
about
talk
and not
about
talk about them. And you know, I wouldn't even interact with no one else. I do that at one-on-one.
Right.
Because I don't want nobody to embarrass me
Right.
like that, you know.
What about people that say they watch pastors on TV and that's their church? They do like church from home.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They just have like a virtual church. I've heard of virtual churches. They're not as big as they used to be, but I remember, you know, that was a big thing for a while, is that people didn't really feel like they had to leave their house. They could just, now that it's on Daystar, TBN, and they can just watch TV from there, and then that way they don't have to worry about being pressured to pay no tithe. They gotta be worried about pressured about going to no baby shower. All they get is the word, and maybe some music. You know, their worship and all that stuff
Lay in
online,
bed.
Well,
online or on TV.
Well, I love Ralph Douglas out of Houston, and I love Dr. David Jeremiah.
I like him too.
Okay, but in between all that, I love the church within International Ministry.
Right, where you can serve.
Where I can serve.
Right.
You know, it's good to hear the word. You know, it's okay to watch it, but sometimes you have to. It said, assemble yourself among true believers.
Sure does say that. Don't
Forsake
forsake.
not, that's
Don't
right.
forsake.
Forsake not. So the assembly of. So we need to just come together, and then you can go home. They come on 24/7.
But then when the people get sick though,
When you're sick,
when
that's
they get
different.
sick,
Who they wanna call
or if there's a
on?
death in the family, are they gonna call that TV pastor to
come
come?
in.
Well,
Yeah.
I wouldn't
You know.
advise him to call a TV pastor.
Because he probably ain't gonna know him.
No,
You know.
he's not gonna give a minute. I told you about that experience I did, and I said I'm gonna test this out, so I did a mega church. So I called and I said, and I pretended like I was homeless, and I hadn't had any food or anything. I was informed that, and the question was, are you a member of this church?
I've heard
And
that
I
before,
said,
too.
no, I'm not a member of any church. I said, but I'm destitute right now, and I need help, and I was informed that y'all would help me. Well, have you paid any tithes?
They asked
For 6
Yes.
months. I said, sir, I'm destitute. I don't have anything. But, so his thing was, well, since you have not paid tithes at any church, we are unable at this time to help you.
Wow.
Are you serious?
And they had plenty of money by them
And
being
they
a mega
had
church.
plenty of money.
Oh.
They had plenty of money. And you know that makes you stop and think. So we give out, we send money to donations to their organization. We help them as much as we possibly can. Our last $5.
Right.
You know, as Johnny Taylor said, our last $2.
$2.
Our
Don't
last,
want to lose.
and then you have to pay the 42 cents
Y'all
for
don't
the
want to
stamp.
pay it in church.
And you mail this money to them, $5, because you giving it out of
Your
your
love,
heart.
yeah.
You giving so why could they not give you back
Benevolence, just out
Right.
of benevolence. Yeah.
just to help? But he told me I had to be a member of the church for 6 months, and I had to be in good standing with my tithing.
Wow.
But that's what I'm saying. The person that is acting that way and having church from a distance, they are sowing the seed of selfishness. So when it's time for them to get help, who's going to be there for them? Because they are not giving anywhere. Not in particular. Yeah, we know you were doing this as a. But think about that though. Because if they gave to everybody that called their line, they wouldn't be the mega church that they are.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And-
if
yeah.
in fairness, I think those are relevant questions because they didn't even say you had to be a member of their church, though, right? They just said you had to be giving tithes somewhere.
No.
That's not. They said they want you to be giving tithes to them directly.
Yeah, at this
Okay.
church.
For 6 months. Okay.
For
well,
6 months.
which is in some ways I see that is kind of that's sketchy. That's a little sketchy, but at the same time, right is right. You know,
Right.
if people want to reap the benefits of having that covering and having that protection and everything, you've got to be somewhere putting in the work too. You know what I'm saying? Because then if that person, let's say if you were that real homeless person and you had a home church, and when you got off the phone with them, you could go to your home church.
But you're
You know,
homeless.
next.
I mean, you're homeless.
Yeah.
You don't have nowhere to go. You don't have nowhere to stay. You're staying under the bridge.
But still, there's a church that you can go to.
Well, yeah, probably.
You can still walk to church or
Presbyterian.
call somebody to pick you up to church now. Because they have churches all around. They have churches in the homeless shelters.
I know that.
Did you go to that church? I know Union Gospel Mission got a church within there, you know what I'm saying? But then you also have a lot of people that come to church too, see?
Right.
They'll come to church, you know, and you done seen
Tell
these
it.
people on TV, they stand out there and hold their little sign up, and then they pull that off and go get in a Benz.
Right.
You know, they done had that on
happened to
television. That happened to you. You got a Benz and you did that.
No.
You got time. You got hair.
Run.
You got what now?
I was exiting off of Jim Miller, and the man had his sign up
Yeah.
there, and I pulled out $5 and put it in this little thing, and I went on over there to the racetrack to get gas. And I come out, and he was getting in his Benz, and he just drove off
Oh no.
With your $5.
with my
You
$5.
asking for it back. Give me my money.
You just, I gave you that $5.
Did you answer?
So the moral of this story.
By the time I realized, I'm like, that's the man I gave the $5.
And the scripture says that he's never seen the righteous forsaken or his seed begging for bread. So to a certain degree, like a righteous person shouldn't be totally destitute, you know, where there's nowhere for them to go to get help.
Yeah, because it
It's,
said
you know-
bring ye tithes to the storehouse. So when you need some food,
right. There'll be
you
something
will
there.
have some there.
Yeah,
You know, but a lot of people think if they give their money to the church, they give.
They do think
We
that.
don't even
Yep.
get a salary. Y'all want y'all to know that.
Right.
But I'm just saying, some people feel like if I'm putting the money in there, that the pastor is getting the money, because we have seen that where they give out. You know, so a lot of people don't want to do that. Because I remember when before I really started tithing,
Yeah, I believe
I wasn't gonna give no tithe. Now, pastor was tithing.
You tell
I
the
wasn't
truth.
gonna give no money back then because I thought like that. I said, I ain't giving my money. No, wait a minute, let me finish. I knew you were gonna say that. Wait a minute,
just say why.
No,
why,
what I'm saying is,
why did you get there?
because I heard.
Okay.
I was
Okay.
listening
Okay.
to people
The
saying,
negativity.
girl, don't get that money to that pastor.
Now
He gonna go buy him a Cadillac. Okay?
I heard that.
So
Wow.
he would always tithe, and I wouldn't do it. Even when I would tip, he would tip, and I go back and get the tip off the table. You know, I was just bad. You know, but that was before I became the knowing the good Lord.
Thank you,
That the
Jesus.
good Lord will supply all your
Your
needs.
needs.
And then you give, you know, come on, give me a hand clap. That's what I'm talking about. But it
you
takes
tell the
us to
truth, though.
grow. It takes us to grow to that point.
Yeah.
But I was the one that ended up losing my job as the engineer, and he still had his job. You know what I'm saying? But not saying that you know you do it. But he was a tither, and I was not a tither. But now you can't beat me tithing. But I never been without. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about the pastor getting the money, and it's not about you giving the money to the church. If you giving it because you know that it's in scripture or whatever, but he said be a cheerful giver. Don't give it saying I don't want to give it because of the pastor getting the money. And maybe some pastors are doing that. I'm not putting my mouth on any pastor. All I'm saying is if they are doing that, they're going to be held accountable for that. Don't you miss your blessing because you saying, oh, I ain't gonna help that pastor. Well, why you under that pastor?
That's what I was saying. Why are you
know what I'm
there?
saying?
If
You don't want to
believe
bless
in-
him or whatever. If he's doing something, God will whoop him. But then you gonna stay under him, and you feel like he's doing that. To me, that's a problem with you staying up under that
But
pastor.
you know, I remember I told you that happened to me. I was going to church before I found my church home, where the pastor, we was doing offering, and like every time the offering get finished, oh, we're $100 short. We're $100 short from what? I mean, oh, we need $25 more. We need each member to give $20. What?
Where's that scriptural?
I mean, where did that?
But I've seen
But
pastors do that.
and it really made me feel uncomfortable because it goes back to where when I was growing up, church wasn't like that. That's not what I know. So I'm like, okay, or what? I mean, if you have a building fund, okay, we pay towards the building fund, and we pay towards whatever. But you just blatantly asking, oh, okay, we $100 short, but I need to know what are you $100 short from?
But you have to also realize that when you pay your tithes, after you have dropped your tithes in that paying, it's not your tithes anymore.
Right.
It belongs to the church. So whatever the church see fit to do, like I know because I work on the finance committee, pastor and co-pastor, they do not get a salary. They have not gotten a salary since the church begun. Now, they have not.
Amazing.
And I'm not going to sit up here and lie if they was, because they have not.
We do not.
But the thing
I
is
could
that...
have a new wig if we were.
But what we have to realize is that when we pray over that money, that because we don't know where that money came from.
Right.
It could be drug dealers, it could
Right.
be anything, you know. But when we loose that money into the church, it becomes the church.
Right.
It's not ours anymore. So whatever they doing with the money, that is going to be them and God, not you or me, or, you know, because you gave out of your heart.
Right.
And see, that's what we have to realize. You have to be a cheerful giver. Because if you're doing, oh God, I got to pay tithes this Sunday. Oh Lord, I got something else to do with it. Then don't give it.
Just only do what you need to do.
Go and do what you need to do. Don't do it. Because I stopped paying tithes one time, and everything, my car broke down, and I didn't have no money to pay my
Were
electric.
you upset with somebody, the reason why you quit? Stop.
Why'd you stop paying
Why did you
tithes?
stop? You were a giver. and
Same
then-
reason about,
Okay.
you know, especially in Baptist churches, if they don't collect enough money, and maybe other churches do it as well. Well, I see we need, and then they have the deacons, poor deacons, I feel so sorry for them. They be up there counting their money.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, the minister asks, how much is there? And that's not enough. So he said, well, we need this. If 10 people would give $20,
Wow.
10 people would give $50. And then this
Ooh,
goes
I used
on
to
over
hate
and
that.
over and over again.
Right.
You know, but then I got convicted. Because I'm like, but Lord, everything falling apart. And then he said, well, if you start paying your tithes,
No, no, that's what the
you'll
Lord
see,
told you.
yeah, you'll see things changing. And you know, and then I thought, I'm not gonna be paying my charge just to see things changing. I want
wanna
to pay it
do it.
because I want to give.
Yeah.
And that's what he started working with my heart to just give. And what they do with that,
Yeah,
after
see, I
have
never,
given-
even though I
Yeah.
had reservations about what he was doing, I continued to pay my tithes.
Right.
And from right now, today, I see how he's working in my life because of that. It never
That's the
stopped me
truth.
from paying my tithes.
Right.
And just to say, this happened to me a couple of Christmas time. I got paid. I was like, man, Lord, can I double up? And I said, can I double up on my tithes the next time I get paid? Because I need to do something.
Right.
As soon as I got in here, I got convicted. I'll pay my tithes. Yeah. And I went on
Don't
ahead.
put him on the back burner, right?
I went
Put
on
him
ahead
the
and paid him, but and he made a way for whatever it was
that's
that I
right.
needed to do at that time, and everything was taken care of.
Right.
So,
But you know, a lot of people don't come to church because they feel like they don't have money to pay. Or they
Ooh,
don't
that's a
have
good
enough
one.
to
They gonna stay
give.
home.
So
That's
a
a
lot
good
of them
one.
stay home. But we
Yeah.
don't want you to feel like
Yeah.
that just because you don't have enough money or you don't have money to pay or give, still come because
Right.
there's a blessing. You know, somebody in the church might walk up and just give you a blessing.
Right.
Because
That's
we,
the truth.
you know, I love when people come in and they don't feel like I got to have this and I got to have that to come to church. And sometimes we put so much on people to make them feel so guilty that they say, you know what, I'll just rather not even come to church. There's so much fakeness in the church. You know, you got people say, I love you, then they talking about you in the church or they criticizing you. And please don't step on somebody's new shoes in the church. Boy, they be ready to fight you. You know, people, I've been in churches where people be ready to fight the pastor and
Lord.
pulling guns on them. And, you know, and I'm like, really? All this goes? I'm coming from the country. And you coming into the city and you seeing people want to fight the pastor or disrespect the pastor and stuff.
Right.
There's a way you do things. And you
Right.
got some pastors that disrespect their congregation. And we got, you know, they doing so much stuff. But you ought to be able to come to church and feel love
Right.
without people looking down on you or getting up, calling you names and stuff, you know, in the church and everything. But we all have to grow to get there.
Yes, we
and
do.
then we have some people that use scriptures to throw out to people,
Browbeat
to
you.
make the, what you call it, browbeating,
call you browbeat.
and to make you not want to come to church. So some people feel like, well, hey, if I'm going to church and the pastor preaching hell and brimstone and just throwing stuff out there and making people feel so uncomfortable, then they don't want to come to church because of that too. You know, because I want to come to church where I feel love, or if I do fall, are they going to persecute me if I sin? You know, because all of us sin, right?
And I remember when you was talking about when you was at your church, you say every Sunday morning you had to go up there to the front and ask God to forgive you for your sins. And you said, well, hell, if I had to do this every Sunday, I just won't do it. I just keep on sinning. And that's something because, you know, you go to church and you like, and when you go up front, people know something's going on.
Yeah.
And they be, what did she do this
What did
week?
she do this time?
Yeah.
You know, and so you judging what I could have just said a nasty word and asking God to forgive me for saying that nasty word, but you have told a story on my just walking up front.
Right.
And see, that's one of the reasons some people don't come to church, because they, I can say something to pastor, and pastor can say something to you, and co-pastor can say
something to you,
and when it turned all the way around, it'd be a totally different. So that's one of the reasons some people do not come to church, because, you know, of
your business everywhere.
Everywhere.
or they confide in you, thinking that you are a Christian. And baby, can I go and talk to you about it? As soon as they get it, it's all over the church. You know, and then they feel so uncomfortable because now everybody watching them.
Right.
You know, and stuff like that. But we get persecuted a lot of time coming to church. And then we got so many people so righteous in church. What they say, they so holy that they know
No earthly good.
no earthly good.
So heavenly.
They condemn everything, you know, and you can't do this, you can't do that. So if I slip and fall and I sin, it's not the people in the world that persecute me more. It's the people in the church that persecute me more than anybody. And there's a scripture that says, if you keep that person from sinning, you hide a multitude of sin.
Yeah,
you
love covers.
Yeah,
them.
love
so
covers
if you love
all.
them, you wouldn't be trying to.
So you trying to make them feel comfortable because, baby, hey, all of us have sinned. And if I come to you and talk to you about my sin, then I need to listen to you, pray with you, but not try to condemn you and make you feel that bad. You know, he said, go and sin no more when he caught the woman in adultery. He told her, go and sin no more. But we'll go and talk about it.
Now I want to talk about why do people go to church? Because I want to say something about the single women.
Okay.
How a lot of people that are married, they think that every single woman that's at the church want they man.
Now that's true, but it is a lot of women in church will go after your man too, and they don't care about you being in. I'm telling you, girl, they used to come up to Glen when I was little. When I was in my 20s then, baby, and it wasn't the younger women; it was these older women that would be coming there like I wasn't even there. That was how you doing, brother Kirkwood. Well, what about Sister Kirkwood? They didn't care about it.
And I had this guy tell me years ago now. I said, I'm saving my life for Jesus. And you know what I was talking about. He said, well, Jesus got enough people saving it for him. I was like, well, that's crazy.
He said Jesus got what?
He got enough people saving it for him.
Saving it for him?
Yeah, he said he got women saving it for him.
Trying to get you to compromise.
Yeah. So you're like, gee. So it was crazy. It was crazy. I'm saying some of these brothers at the church.
Yeah.
Some of these brothers at the church are
some people go to church to date. You know, they go to church searching for a woman, and you know, and
men and women.
I heard this, and it really hurt. I'm not gonna call the church name, but this guy came in my office and said, "Miss Curry, I don't have to go to no club to get no woman. I can go to this blank church, and baby, I can get any woman in there." And I mean, he said, you would think it's a party the way they dress in the church. I said, are you serious? He said, I'm telling you the truth. I don't go to no club. I can't wait till Sunday morning. He said, I can pick which woman I want, And then I can go to the next one the next Sunday, and both of them all in. I said, "You going through?" He said, "Yeah, it's just there."
Wow.
And they ain't saving it for nobody. They just giving it.
Wow.
And that's sad to say that. And it really hurt my heart because
Right.
you talking about the church
Right.
as like it's a whole place that I can go and whole around in the church like that. And we've a lot of pastors have fallen to that. A lot of women and men have fallen to that because we get weakened in sin. And that seems like the biggest thing that a person can fall on is sexual thing going on in the church, you know.
Right.
And that's a big thing that's going on. And a lot of people say, well, I don't need to go to church because I can't trust the pastor. You know. You got some texting the pastor in the pulpit, and his wife sitting out there by him. And they don't have no respect. They fight the pastor wife because they want the pastor. It's just so much that's going on in the church, that make people, well, why should I go there when they doing more in the church than they out there doing?
Right.
In the club.
But see, the women, they really have their guard down at church because they feel like the brother got a suit on, he got the hair lined up, he's got that white smile, he got the Bible. Well, no, I don't necessarily know he got the Bible in his hand, but he's at church. So the women's guard is down like he's different. Yeah, the women's like, well, a lot of these dudes in the street, they don't even know how to go to church on a Sunday.
Right.
They don't wear the suit, they don't do even that. So the girls are excited and, to see a man in a suit, where the men are looking like, I'm looking at that booty is showing through that shirt, or that.
I'm looking at the chest.
I'm looking at all that.
Because they dress like that to tempt the men in the church.
Right, and then the women are dressing wrong, but the men are also, everybody's masquerading. Because if she's really about the right thing, she won't fall for just the fact that he was at church. You should ask him, does he have a prayer life? What's his favorite scripture?
Right.
Does he come here all the time? Does he come here all the time? Is this the first time he's been in church since, his birthday last year? So a lot of times the guys, you can tell what they are if you start interviewing them. Right.
And then, too, another thing, if they are the type and you see the woman flirting, they can stop them right there in their shoe.
Right.
I'm not here for that. I'm here for the word of God. And, we can prevent a lot of stuff from happening in the church if they are saying it. Because that was one of the things, too, that people come to church to date. Why, and then a lot of them come to church to do that.
Some will stay home because of that.
And
some will stay home,
And also CME, Christmas.
Mother's Day.
And Mother's Day.
Yeah. And they only come to church during that time. Why? So they can show off their clothes.
Right.
And, and this is what I like about this show. We do real talk.
Right.
And people got to be real with themselves and stop faking and shaking.
Right.
You done sinned. You done did this. But now you want to be so holy than thou that, you doing something because you are not perfect.
That's right.
So you are doing something behind closed doors, but you want to come into church and act like you so holy than thou. And oh no, I'm Miss Perfect. No, baby, you're not Miss Perfect.
I'm not.
And the real thing about it, that's the reason why a lot of people don't come to church too, because we got so many fake and shake people that don't want to address things, and they just want to facade around. And I go to this church and this, and then some of them make the pastor a God.
Yeah.
They put too much. My pastor this, my pastor that. Your pastor is human just like anybody else.
That's right.
He can slip just like anybody else. I could slip just like anybody else. My husband could slip just like anybody else. But the only thing that we try to do is let God keep us from doing that.
Yeah.
So a lot of reason why people don't come to church is why. Y'all send me your comments. I would love to read them.
Either way it goes, you can come up with a lot of different reasons why going and why not.
Right.
But because we're people, we all
Right.
feel and we feel different. We have different desires and stuff like that. But the key behind it all is spiritual reasons. It's a spiritual reason why you go, and there's a spiritual reason why you don't go. See, the reason even when you accepting Christ. Now we're talking about believers.
Right.
Yeah, we're talking about believers. Why you're not going to church?
We're not
and you
talking about
believe
the
in
non-believer because they haven't even they don't have no relationship with the Lord yet because they haven't accepted Him like that. But even when you accept Him, the Word says you have been drawn. The Spirit of God drew you to Him, and so something was said I don't care if it was through a testimony or you went to church or somebody witnessed to you or whatever, you were drawn to the Lord.
Right.
And then after that, after being drawn to him, Satan is doing everything he can to stop your relationship.
Yes.
And so to
Good
get
point.
you, to get into your feelings and your emotions, anything to make you mad, get you upset, and you know, so he's
Any little
picking,
thing
anything he's
to
picking
keep
at
you from
picking at
coming to
picking at
church.
You're right.
That's so true.
And
That's
so,
the
but if
blessing
it's a
of that.
part of you so much, no matter what they're doing, you're gonna be there. You might not be there for the right reason, but you're gonna still be there because it becomes
It's a part of you.
It becomes right. It becomes
Yeah.
a part of, and then it becomes tradition too. It becomes good and bad. Now, like when you said that, I remember. Now I didn't have a choice. I knew I was gonna have to be there. So you know.
He was a druggie.
Right,
They
right.
drug him to church every
My
Sunday.
father being a preacher,
Yeah.
you know, and so I was gonna have to be there no matter what. So I had to find out a way to enjoy it. You know, you can just have to have fun in it somewhere.
Yeah.
But we were in two different churches too. One of them you dressed up in, and the other one you can just come as you are. So, you know, right in the middle of the week we might have to go to church on like a midweek. Well, while I'm out praying with my friends and I got, you know, I'm dirty and everything, we had to jump in the car and go right then sometimes. But the other church,
So that
you
was
couldn't
come
do.
as you are.
Yeah, that was, you could go, I just dust off right quick, you know, and just take off right, you know, and sometimes, but even during that time, I used to wonder why my friends wasn't going. And sometimes I did talk to them, and the other times I would be wondering. But then when I really thought about a lot of it, their parents wasn't going.
Yeah.
See, it wasn't a part of them to go. Sometimes they did go with us a few times, but then they'd go right back to this is the norm at our house. You see, and that's really what it happened. But in the midst of that, it also made me kind of wonder which one was close. You know, you start to get judgmental, which you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
Who is part of God and who isn't? All of them are part of God.
Right.
Both the church. It don't make no difference how big the church is or how small.
Right.
God is using the mega church like he's using the one, he said, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name.
Right.
I'm in the midst. They're reaching somebody just like somebody.
That's
They may
right.
not be reaching as many, but there's somebody they're reaching.
Right.
Even
That's
though-
the most important
right,
thing.
Right, and so it boils down to the relationship that we have with the Lord.
Right.
Right.
So you either going for him or you going for people.
People.
Right.
You get that's where you
That's
get. You know, sometimes you.
But at
going
least you
because-
going.
I'm going because of mom and daddy.
Yeah,
going-
sometimes
At least you going.
I was going for
because
people.
right, and then but there in a
And the
way
choir.
it's good and it's bad because you are the image of God until they know the real God as a child. See, that's what happens. That parent is supposed to be the image of God until they know the God that they cannot
Right.
that they cannot see. You are the one that they can see until they meet the one that they cannot see. And so as time goes on, then it'll start affecting you spiritually. See, we're being made in the same body of Christ. I don't want to hold up a time on that, but we body, soul, and spirit like he's Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Right.
Well, all parts of that need to be ministered to in our lives.
Right. Right.
It's ministered to your body, to your soul, is your mind, and your spirit.
Speak it.
So in that, the church is going to reach you somewhere in there. Some of them, they just really got to their mind. I mean, it's just, you know. And so they love how it's the order of it and
Yeah.
everything. And there's some churches are centered around that to build your mind.
Build it up.
Then you have some, they really work toward the body. They talk about your health.
Yes.
And they, you know,
We
some people
need
have
that.
certain ministries like that. They tell you about exercising.
And all of that.
Now, the ones that don't want to do that, they ain't going to talk about that. They're going to talk to you. The other one, they're going to be telling you how to cook your food, what kind of food to eat, and on and on and on. See? But the ones that don't want to control that, they ain't saying nothing because they're going to eat everything. And they don't care nothing about their health. Then the others,
Yeah.
you know, it's each one. The other one is really affecting, you know, your spiritual walk. And they're telling you about, you better watch the devil.
Right.
The other one never will say nothing about the devil.
That's
Yeah.
true.
That's
They'll
true.
never say it. But that don't mean that each one is not a part of the body of Christ.
That's right.
Right.
They are addressing different parts
Things.
of it.
And I
you
might
know,
need
and
that at this
right,
time.
and so,
That's-
yeah,
I might need this
yeah,
over
yeah.
here
And
this
so
time.
in that, to me now, I see it different than I did then. Now I really love going to the one, even between those two churches. I like going to the one I can dress any kind of way
Right.
because I felt more love there.
Love that. Yeah.
The other one had more rules there.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But it don't mean that it's wrong, because the word says where there's no love, you need law.
Law.
You need law. That's why we have it in the land, in the country. We wouldn't even need a stoplight and everything else if love was there.
That's right.
But who's going to stop for you?
If they was obedient.
Now, and
Now
if
they'll
they
run
don't
over
stop,
you.
you need a law enforcer behind the light to keep things get on them. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So where there's no love, you need a law.
Wow.
So you're operating in that not only in the church but in your home and everything. You got to have law in the house between the
Amen.
kids and
Yeah.
you know. If you don't, you're gonna get chastised. You're gonna get beat down if you didn't do what I told you to do.
Wow.
But if they were operating in love, they'll just automatically do it. So it boils down to our relationship with the Lord.
Right.
And because of that, then we want to do it more and want to do it more. And then you feel like I'm gonna miss something if I don't go. You know,
Because you want to
I
go
gotta
because
go
you,
because of the
yeah.
fellowship,
The fellowship.
who I'm going to be around. So we're moving more from the natural to a spiritual thing. So as you're moving into that, and
Yeah.
people recognize that there is an enemy,
Name
then the
Satan.
enemy is fearful of certain individuals. And this is where we don't understand it. You just get around certain people, and all you know is I have peace now. And I was going through hell before I came to church. But now when I came in, I just feel so comfortable. And a lot of times it's because I'm sitting next to somebody that done wore the devil out.
Yeah, no, boy, not.
He's scared, see what I'm saying?
That's a good
Yeah.
one.
He
Right,
was
it is
with me
good.
until
I
I
like
came
that.
and sit down by
Right.
her.
Yeah.
And I don't know this.
Yeah.
But all I know is time I sit down by her, I start feeling peaceful. And what it is, she had already, that particular spirit, she has power over. But there's another one she don't have power over.
Right.
And then so when I come to you, that's why you feel good when you get around certain people. You wonder why I feel so good around you. Just when I just, all of a sudden, then you know it's something that's spiritual.
Spiritual.
And so that becomes the part of the fellowship. Just being in the church makes you feel better sometimes.
Because, we've had
It
people
makes you
that
feel
come
better.
in that was
Right.
sick.
And you can go to
And
church
that's
and
that-
feel bad too.
Yeah.
I walked through
And
church
headaches to come
and I
in
started
on
head
you.
almost throwing up. I'm
Right.
telling you, just walked into the church when I opened the door. And I said, I know it's spirit
It's
here.
a negative spirit.
Demon spirit.
Demon spirit attacking
You know, but if it's covering the whole church, that's when it's really a problem.
Yeah.
You got different kinds of spirits. I don't want to move into that, but that's one of the main things that draws people and pushes them away.
'Cause
That's
you got,
the main-
Yeah, you got those bad spirits
Spiritual,
that come in.
right? There's a thing.
And then
something
you
that's
got people
pulling
that
you.
bring them into the
That's
church.
right,
That'll
right.
make people not want to come
Not
to church.
wanna be
It's
there.
certain
Not
people
wanna
you be
be
like, man, I hate when they come to
When
church.
you come around,
False
then you
brother.
just start to
Yeah,
That's
you
a
know what I'm
false
saying?
brother.
It's like you just
a certain
attack you or
individual get up and
something.
start talking, and you just be wondering, where did that come
Come from.
And you start, everything
Yeah.
was going so good, so
Until
good in the
somebody-
spirit, and then
yeah.
a certain individual start, you just. And so that's a
Yeah.
spiritual reason.
Yeah.
Then it's, you
A
show-
lot of people don't come.
But but everybody's gonna have their different reasons, because you get you upset or somebody did this to you, but you're in the natural.
Right.
That's the
And
And that's
really,
what I
that's
was
what
gonna say. It's
you're
the
really
natural.
getting into your natural.
Because see, your
Because-
spiritual
Right, your
will
spiritual don't
overcome
even
the
deal with
natural.
none of
Yes,
that
it will.
because you.
The spiritual part will say,
Right.
okay, what did
Right.
it say? Let us all reason
right,
together.
right.
Your
spirit man will say,
Yeah.
God told me to be here,
Yeah, and I'm gonna
and that's
make
it.
it.
I don't
That's
care
it.
what
What
y'all do.
goes
Y'all
on,
set the whole
I'm
building
gonna
on
be
fire. You can do all that. I'm gonna still
I'm
because
gonna
God
have
told me to be
fire.
here. So you won't be looking at what they're doing. You don't hear nothing
But
that
and
they're
you'll
saying.
be coming to
All
church
you're doing is focusing
for
on what he's saying.
the right
That's
reason.
Amen.
So
Is
that's
to
how that
come
works.
in and serve and do what you
Yeah.
can do.
Right.
And
Something-
if there's a problem, we ought to be able to reason together.
Right.
And if you have
So-
a prayer life, you can ask the Lord in prayer. Where should I go? Where
Right,
should I serve?
and he
the
will
Lord
tell
be
you.
faithful.
He'll tell you.
He'll be faithful.
And
That's
then
how I
he'll
found
tell
my
you
church.
what to do too.
That's
Then
right.
you start saying, I don't know if
Sit
I
down
want to do
somewhere.
that.
Yeah, he'll tell you sit down somewhere. And he's
I
like,
don't
Lord,
know.
it's my turn to preach, Lord.
You know,
So you
I
sit
didn't
down somewhere.
ask that now, Lord. Come on.
I know, like I asked, let the best team win and the Cowboys lost. So.
Well,
But
you
anyway.
asked. Well,
But you know-
I mean, see, that's how it is.
Yeah.
Right back to the same
That
thing.
word.
Right.
Because even when I first was started in the ministry, I had asked the Lord. I was gonna get something to drink that day, and I had.
Was it liquor?
Yeah, I was gonna get some whiskey.
Be real.
Tell I'm be honest. I'm be honest
Okay,
because see, some
okay.
people you ask God. God tell you that. You can ask him whatever
He
you
said
want.
ask, but
I
be
don't care
ready
what
for
it
the
is.
answer.
You ask me,
That's
you
right,
don't
but we
answer.
ready for the answer.
Well, the problem is we don't want the answer sometimes.
No, we want the answer that we want.
I know.
But he ain't gonna give us
us
the answer
that.
we want.
Yeah.
But what was the answer about the whiskey?
No, because what he did, and I'm just listening, I'm listening. I said, you know, I had got some whiskey. And I had, Lord, will this be a problem in my ministry? And that was when I first started in ministry, and I kept thinking.
He wasn't pastoring then,
And I
y'all.
said, okay, God. And I'm listening, I ain't hearing nothing. I'm going, okay.
Go get the
While I'm
whiskey.
driving along, this ice started going, falling from my truck while I'm driving. And I'm looking up at the clouds. It wasn't really that bad. It was nice and pretty day. It started increasing more and more and more. And I mean, just pouring down. I'm going, oh.
The closer you got to that liquor store.
Yeah. People in front of me, I'm trying to get around them. I'm going, what is going on here, you know? And just when I got away, the people was all jammed up and everything. I got around all of that. And just when I got past all of that, I drove up under these trees because the ice started coming. It started pouring
Don't
down.
tell me the tree fell.
It was like I saw this ice, like a ice ball. This is like bigger than like a softball. I'm looking at it come down. It went through the trees, hit my windshield of my truck, knocked glass all over me.
Oh, man.
Yeah. I don't think it hit nobody else but me.
That's because he asked about the whiskey.
I said, God, all you had to do was say yes or no. You didn't have to do all of that.
But he got your attention.
But I ain't got my attention. I knew he was talking to. I knew it was for me. I knew it was pertinent. And then what was so bad, when it hit me, and I looked out the window, I was parked in front of a church.
Oh.
See?
When I looked to the
But
side,
did you go
it was
and
a
get the
church.
whiskey is all I want to know.
I said, boy, I need a drink after this.
It's gonna be my last.
But see, God will carry you through whatever you're going through. I don't care if it's staying at the home or doing whatever. The Lord, He'll get your attention if you ask.
Won't
They
he
don't
get-
want to ask it.
They don't want to ask.
They don't want to ask
And
it.
that's the reason why some of them. But we know the time is running out. But this was This was such a good topic. Some of the people said that they like going to churches because they love Jesus.
Amen.
They get to meet people to make friends.
Good,
They become
good.
a better person. They try not to sin as much.
They feel
They
better.
stay strong.
Feel better about
The
themselves.
word of God, I am saved, I am blessed. It's a part of me and I am glad I go. I love the way my pastor bring the word.
Amen.
I receive when I go to church. The people are very kind. You know, those were some of the reasons. Then I want to read this other one that I did, that I got too. It says, to become closer to God. 81% said that.
Amen.
So their children will have a moral foundation.
Amen. A lot of people do it for the children.
That's important.
To become a better person, which I just read, it was 68%. For comfort in times of trouble or sorrow was 66%.
Amen.
They find the sermon valuable, 59%. To be a part of a faith community was 57%. To continue their family religious tradition with 37%. They feel obligated to go with 31%. To meet new people or socialize was 19%. Number 10 was to please their family, spouse, or partner was 16%. It was reason why some of the people do go to church. Some of you all made your comments on the bottom of the thing. And we're glad that you all are tithers. That's a good thing to tithe. And to some of the members that spoke on, we understand why you are not here. We are not saying that that's not the reason why you are coming. But it's a lot of people that do not, come to church for other reasons. And we're just trying to get the believers to examine yourself and ask, who am I going to answer to? Am I going to answer to Jesus? Or am I going to answer to man? Which one went to the cross for you? Was it man or was it Jesus? Wow. So we have to ask that ourselves. Are we putting Jesus on the back burner because other people have hurt us in the church? But think about Jesus. He got hurt too. But did he stop? He went to the cross for us.
Amen.
He died and he rose again so that we could have salvation. So please don't let other people stop you from coming to church. Learn from your hurt. I got my greatest hurt in the church, but it only made me stronger. And it helped me to become the co-pastor that I am today, because my thing is I want to show love. I want to show love to people. I want them to feel the love when they walk through the door. I want them to know that we care for them. And if anybody's saying that we didn't, that's fine. But long as you know you did it for Christ, that's all that lasts. So I hope you all enjoyed the first of the 2019 Talk of Life Talk Show. We praying that there will be more. And I do welcome your topic. Again, like I said, this topic was brought from my sister-in-law because she asked the question, why people don't go to church? Have you ever thought about that? And we might end up probably having a part 2 on this. Amen. Because this is something that you need to think about. Your soul need to be revived. You need to be in somebody's fellowship. Yeah. And sometimes the television is good if you're at home sick, or you can't get out if there's something. But you need to make that sacrifice to go to church, and don't let nobody stop you from going to church. You are giving them too much power when you allow somebody to stop you from coming to serve God and miss your blessing because you allow somebody else to have that much control over you. Amen. When God ought to have that much, and he's not a God of force. Amen. So I just want you to know we love you, and please tell somebody about the Talk of Life Talk Show, and we should be able to get it on YouTube so you can go back and look at this. And again, send me your topic. All right, just a few quick announcements. Our next show, which we are praying for, with God blessing, will be January the 28th. And we have a guest, and his name is?
Raheem Alexis.
Alexis. And he was sentenced, it said 19 years on that thing, is that right? He was sentenced 19 years at the age of 17 years old, and he served 12 years in prison. And he has his own success story. He even wrote a book called Big Homie to Lil Homie. And he's going to be our guest on the 4th Monday night, which is January 28th. Amen. Come listen as Rohimi shares his journey and connect with his present society through the spoken word and priceless wisdom, and see why he says with such confidence, no boundaries, only God. So he wants to share how prison, he says, was his university. And so he learned from that. He's married now. He's successful. And we're going to hear about his story being in prison. And one thing I can say is if he went there and he want to share his story, that's awesome. Maybe it'll keep somebody else from going to prison. Don't ever be ashamed of your past. Learn from it. February coming up, we have 2 shows already planned out for February, if the Lord say the same, and we can still be on the air. It'll be Black History Month, February the 11th. We'll be having Why Are We Going Backwards? You know, that's Black History Month. And this came from one of our good friends out of, she's originally from Linden, Texas, but she lives in Fort Worth. And that's Faye Harrison. Some of you all probably know her. She went to school with my sister, Frances, and Kay. And Frances, she said, I'm Frances, married to my first cousin. So, hey, Carl. Hey, Francis. So, Faye, we thank you for sending this topic in. Why are we going backwards? And one of the reasons, she said, we have come a long way from degrading ourselves, from what the young men and women are calling each other nowadays. You know how we have that little N word and the B and all that. How are they dressing, sagging pants and all that? Why are we going backwards? So that's going to be our topic. And thank you, Faye, for doing that. And then February 25th, we have a guest. And some of you all know this young man. He's very powerful. He's a motivational speaker. And his name is Andre Johnson. He's going to come in and he's going to share his story. He's a successful black man. I call him Man of Color, and I love his poem, Time. And he will be performing that in February. So we do have that. April, we're going to have our wig conference. Y'all know I love wearing wigs. And God gave me this. And I said, Lord, what does wig stand for? He said, Women in God. See? So we're going to have our Women in God conference. It's going to be April the 24th through the 26th. 7 p.m. night, we're going to have some dynamic speakers in the house, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. So if you want to be a part of this Women in God conference, please inbox me if you have a topic. Please do that. The last one is coming up this Sunday, we're going to be doing a play written by Sylvia Chest, the First Lady of the American Legion Hall, called Why Did You Have to Kill Him? So if you're not busy and want to come and see this play, it'll be at 11:15 at our meeting place, the Church Within International Ministry meeting place at the American Legion Hall, 1250 Mansfield Avenue, Fort Worth, Texas, where my husband is the pastor and I am the co-pastor. And last but not least, if you would like to rent our photo booth for your parties, your homecoming,
the perfect addition to your next event. Book us now. The Kirk Booth. We bring the life to the party. From corporate events to weddings
pictures,
to birthdays
marriages,
and much more, we've done it all.
All of these things.
Packages include unlimited photo printing, unlimited text messaging, a USB drive with all photos, video recording, props, backdrops, and logo branding, as well as a friendly attendant on site to assist with rental. Call today and find us on Facebook or visit our website for more info.
And book us, and we have a lot of fun, and pictures are always there. They bring such beautiful memories. So don't forget the Kirk Booth. Look us up. If you're looking for a church home where you feel love and just come as you are, we'll bless you. Even if you do wear your hoochie mama shorts, Sister Linda over here will take you and buy you some clothes or bring you some clothes. But we want you to know seriously, you can come here and we will love you and you will want to come back. Right, Danielle? Right. All right. We want to thank Danielle. This is her first time being with us. I hope you enjoyed being a part of it.
Amen.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, I did.
Okay, good. And I love my audience. Woo! Amen. And don't forget,
go to church.
Go to church.
Don't forget.
Go to church. And don't let nobody stop you from going to church. No more excuses.
Forsake not the assembling of yourself together. We're speaking to the believers.
Amen.
And what did it say? One to put 1,000 to flight, right?
Right.
Two, what?
10,000.
So don't be sitting there by yourself. Get with somebody.
Right.
I don't care if you go to a church where you don't feel comfortable. There's somebody there the Lord will have for you.
Amen.
Right.
That'll help you.
And you are a reflection of him. May God
Amen.
bless you and keep you. Thank you, Emmanuel, for being our producer. We love you.
Amen.
Until next time.
Amen. Amen.